The money was still warm from the envelope when I realized she was gone. I stood in our kitchen, the refrigerator humming like nothing had happened, my sister's wedding cash spread across the counter in neat stacks that now had a hollow in the center. It wasn't just the bills missing. It was her. Her coat was gone from the hook. Her toothbrush missing from the cup. Her phone off. My name is Grayson Cole. I've never been the dramatic type. I'm the guy who reads warranties and keeps receipts in a labeled folder. I work in logistics. I believe in paper trails. But that night I didn't chase her. I called 911. Not because of the money. Not because my sister's ceremony was in 12 hours and that envelope was meant to pay the caterer at sunrise. I called because of what she said before she walked out. She'd been pacing. Not angry, restless. Eyes too bright. She kept saying the wedding was a sign. That everything was lining up. I asked what that meant. She smiled at me in a way that didn't feel like my wife anymore. I finally understand, she whispered. Then she took the cash. When the dispatcher answered, I didn't report theft. I said, my wife is missing and I think something's wrong. And as the siren started in the distance, I realized she hadn't taken her car. The front door was still slightly open when the first officer arrived. Cold air slipped through the crack and moved the corner of a receipt on the counter. The one from the bank where I'd withdrawn the wedding cash that afternoon. $11,400. I kept staring at the missing space in the stacks like it might explain something. Officer Ramirez asked the usual questions. Height. Weight. What she was wearing. I answered automatically. Navy coat, gray sneakers, the thin gold bracelet her mother gave her. I didn't mention the way her hands had been trembling when she buttoned that coat. She take a vehicle? He asked. No, I said. Her car's in the driveway. Mine too. He stepped outside to check the street. It was quiet. Suburban quiet. Porch lights glowing. Sprinklers ticking in the distance. No sign of urgency except inside my chest. I walked him through the house. Bedroom closet half empty. Jewelry box untouched. Passport still in the drawer. It didn't look like someone running away. It looked like someone stepping out mid-sentence. In the kitchen I told him about the wedding money. I hated how it sounded like motive. You think she stole it? He asked gently. I shook my head. No. I think she thought she needed it. He paused at that. What do you mean? I swallowed. Because I hadn't told him the part that scared me most. Earlier that evening she'd asked if I could hear it too. The humming, she said. And I hadn't heard anything. By the time the second patrol unit circled the block, the house felt smaller. I kept replaying the last hour in my head like security footage I should have reviewed more carefully. She'd been standing by the kitchen window, staring at the dark glass like it was reflecting something I couldn't see. The timing is perfect, she'd said. You don't feel that? I thought she meant the wedding. My sister Ava had waited years for this day. The deposits, the seating charts, the tiny ivory envelopes, it had consumed the last 6 months. My wife Lila had helped with everything. She'd been organized, steady. Until tonight. Officer Ramirez asked if this behavior was new. I hesitated. 3 weeks ago Lila stopped sleeping. Said she didn't need it. She'd reorganized the garage at 2 a.m., painted the hallway before sunrise. She talked fast like her thoughts were trying to outrun each other. I told myself it was stress. We'd both been stretched thin. I'd snapped at her last Tuesday about leaving cabinet doors open. A stupid, ordinary argument. Now that felt like a crack I'd ignored. Any history of mental health issues? Ramirez asked carefully. No, I said. But that wasn't entirely true. Her mother had once mentioned episodes when Lila was in college. Nothing specific. Just a tone. A warning wrapped in politeness. And suddenly I remembered something else. When she smiled before leaving, she wasn't looking at me. She was listening. To something outside. We stepped onto the porch together. The night had that thin, metallic chill that comes before rain. The neighborhood looked untouched, rows of identical roofs, porch lights casting steady halos, someone's wind chime knocking softly against itself. Ordinary. Stable. The kind of place where nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. Lila. I called louder than I meant to. My voice echoed down the cul-de-sac and dissolved. Officer Ramirez shone his flashlight along the sidewalk, then across the lawns. No footprints in the dry grass. No discarded envelope. No navy coat. Then I noticed it. Her phone. It was sitting on the porch swing. Face down. I stepped toward it slowly like it might shatter if I moved too fast. The screen lit when I turned it over. No missed calls. No messages. Just a note app open. 3 words typed over and over. It's a line now. The timestamp was from 6 minutes before I called 911. Ramirez glanced at me. Aligned with what? I didn't answer. Because I remembered something else she'd said earlier while standing at the window. They're finally quiet, she whispered. Who? I'd asked. She'd looked relieved. Almost grateful. The ones that were warning me. A siren wailed faintly in the distance. Another unit joining the search. And for the first time that night, the money didn't matter. What scared me wasn't that she'd taken it. It was that she might believe she was saving us. The rain started without drama. Just a thin mist that turned the streetlights soft and blurry. Another patrol car rolled up, slower this time. A search expanded, 2 officers walking opposite directions, flashlights sweeping gutters and hedges. I stood in the driveway barefoot, the wet concrete cooling through my socks, holding her phone like it might pulse again. Does she have anywhere she'd go? Ramirez asked. I thought of her sister in Ohio. Closed at midnight. No flight booked. No rideshare history on the app. Then I remembered the park. Lila used to walk there when she couldn't sleep. 3 blocks over. A narrow trail circling a pond that always smelled faintly like algae and pennies. She likes the water, I said. We drove there slowly. Windows cracked to listen. The rain thickened, tapping the windshield in uneven rhythms. I kept scanning the sidewalks, expecting to see her navy coat blur past. The park was empty except for the hum of a distant highway. The pond's surface rippled under the rain, dark and restless. Then Ramirez's flashlight caught something near the bench by the water. Gray sneakers. Placed side by side. My chest tightened. Not panic, something quieter. Recognition. She wasn't running. She was arranging. And as I stepped toward the bench, I saw the envelope. Not empty. Still sealed. Every dollar intact. Which meant whatever she believed she needed was never about the money. The envelope was damp but unopened. I held it in both hands like proof of something fragile. Ramirez checked the shoreline with his light, methodical, professional. No signs of struggle. No disturbance in the mud except a single set of footprints leading toward the bench, and none leading back. My throat tightened. Grayson, he said carefully, we're not assuming anything. We'll expand the search. But I already knew something important. She had taken off her shoes because she hated wet fabric clinging to her ankles. Even on beach trips, she'd line her sandals neatly before stepping into the surf. This wasn't chaos. It was intention. Then my phone vibrated in my pocket. A known number. I answered immediately. Silence at first. Then breathing. Quick. Uneven. Lila? My voice cracked in a way I didn't recognize. A whisper came through, distant and trembling. Grayson. I thought I could fix it. Fix what? Where are you? The noise, she said. I thought if everything aligned it would stop. I stepped away from the officers, rain soaking through my shirt. Listen to me, I said, keeping my voice steady the way you talk to someone standing too close to an edge. You don't have to fix anything. Just tell me where you are. There was a long pause. Then she said something that chilled me more than the rain. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And the line went dead. I didn't scream. I didn't drop the phone or run blindly along the shoreline. I stood still and forced myself to breathe. Officer Ramirez approached, reading my face before I spoke. She called, I said. Private number. She's close. She thinks she's supposed to be here. The rain softened, almost respectful. We widened the search radius around the pond. One officer circled the far trail. Another checked the small wooden footbridge that crossed the narrow runoff stream behind the trees. That's when I saw it. A flicker of navy between the trunks. She wasn't in the water. She was sitting on the ground near the bridge, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the current like it was speaking. Relief hit me so hard my legs nearly folded. Lila, I said gently. She looked up. Her eyes were glassy, not from tears, but from exhaustion, like someone who had run for days inside their own mind. I was waiting, she whispered. For what? For it to feel quiet. I knelt in front of her, rain dripping from my hair. I didn't touch her right away. I didn't want to startle whatever fragile thread was holding her still. It doesn't have to be quiet, I said softly. It just has to be safe. Her breathing slowed. Behind me I heard the officer step back, giving us space. And for the first time that night, she reached for my hand. Her hand was ice cold. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just cold from sitting on damp ground too long. I wrapped both of mine around it and felt how small her pulse seemed beneath her skin. I couldn't make it line up, she murmured. I thought if Ava's wedding happened perfectly, If the money moved at the right time, it would all click. The humming would stop. "It's okay," I said. And for once, I meant it without trying to fix anything. The paramedics arrived quietly. No flashing spectacle. Just soft voices and a blanket around her shoulders. She didn't resist when they helped her up. She looked embarrassed more than anything else. As they guided her toward the ambulance, she glanced back at me. Did I ruin everything? I almost laughed at the irony. The envelope was still sealed in my jacket. My sister's wedding would happen in the morning. The caterer would be paid. The flowers would open like they were supposed to. "No," I said. "You didn't ruin anything." Later, at the hospital, a doctor used words like acute episode and sleep deprivation. Words that felt clinical, manageable. I signed paperwork with steady hands. Because calling 911 wasn't betrayal. It was the only promise that mattered. Sometimes love isn't chasing someone into the dark. Sometimes it's turning on every light you can and staying.